You have become a mom in 4 unique ways. And
You
obviously,
said four?
4, well, you became a stepmom, which I count as
Oh,
becoming a
okay.
mom. You became a mom in, what is it, like 20 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
In lower intervention ways, I'm guessing, and then IVF and then surrogacy. So
She said
you've
the
like,
lower intervention.
is that what you would call it? I don't know.
That's a
That's my
that
guess.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I wasn't trying. It wasn't expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never want to say natural because I feel like then that implies that other ways are unnatural. So lower
Good point.
intervention feels right.
I like it.
I'm hoping that we can start first with your IVF journey. Talk to me about when you realized you wanted to be trying and what that was like.
Okay, so at first, when my now husband Todd, and when we first got together, obviously we weren't trying. We were having sex, a lot of it, and it wasn't. We never had a oops moment.
Okay.
Meaning, some people have a oops moment where like, oh my God, I think I might be pregnant. We never had any of those happen. So, it
And just to
didn't.
be real, like you guys, but you weren't not trying. Like you weren't using
Yeah,
protection. You were
yeah,
just kind of seeing what
yeah.
happened.
We weren't doing anything to prevent, put it that way.
Yep.
So it wasn't like we were actively trying, but if it would have happened, obviously it would have been a happy moment for us because we were happy together. Normally you would think you would have those moments where you would be like, oh my God, oh my God, I think I might be pregnant or my period is late or any of that. And none of that was happening. When we got married, at that point, we had been together 2.5 years. We decided to talk to the doctor about, well, why haven't we gotten pregnant? In my mind, I definitely didn't think it was because of me because I'm like, okay, clearly I have a daughter and, I didn't have to have any help getting her. But I was. Apparently, because I had fibroid issues in the past and I had fibroid removal surgery. It's actually, I had multiple. Anyway, it caused scar tissue that I guess was preventing me from getting pregnant. So that's why we decided to, go on our IVF journey.
So how did you feel when you heard from your doctor, I don't think you're going to be able to conceive naturally, and she recommended IVF? I imagine that was a surprise. Was it upsetting? Did you feel like at least now I have a path forward and I have an explanation?
I didn't get too upset because it's just a part of life. I'm a solutions person, so I just don't try to like keep going on about the problem. I just try to fix it. And the fix was to go consult with the IVF doctor.
And at this point, did you know anything about IVF? Did you have friends who went through it? Was it a mystery to you?
Basically, they gave me the option of, okay, they could remove the scar tissue and we could try again, or we could remove the scar tissue and go ahead and go through the IVF process. Because I was in my late 30s, I decided to just go ahead with the IVF process or whatever. So we started the process, which basically, they give you the hormones to make you produce more eggs, and then they do the egg retrieval.
Walk us through, like, you leave, you get a prescription for all of these different drugs. You're on a really strict schedule. So tell us, what those few weeks are like.
I actually have a video of when we went to the pharmacy and they sat me down to explain each each medication and what did it mean, how I had to do the multiple shots a day, and then the trigger shot after, when you were finally ready to go in for your retrieval or whatever. So, they were talking us through it, and, you have to make the decision like, am I going to give the shots to myself? Am I going to get somebody else to give me the shots? It's a whole big thing. Some people are scared of blood. Some people are scared to give themselves injections or whatever. So,
were you scared to give yourself an injection?
I wasn't scared, but I really wanted my husband to do it at first. But then he pissed me off one day because he was out and partying. He wasn't there back on time to give me my shot. So I just gave it myself. So at that point, I just was giving myself my shot. So I was just like, forget you.
That's so funny. The same thing happened to me. It was for my trigger shot, and my husband didn't come back in time. And it's like they tell you 8 p.m. and it has to be exactly 8 p.m. And he wasn't there. And I was like, I'm just going to do it myself. And then I felt so amazing that I could do it myself. And from that point on, I was like, I don't need you. I'm going to do them all myself. So it's kind of empowering.
Yeah. I forgot how many weeks that process was of giving yourself the shots prior to the trigger.
I feel like it was under 2 weeks, and you're like going in for monitoring, and they're looking at your follicles and telling you. And for me, it was such a roller coaster because you're like, I hope my follicles are growing at the right rate, and they're telling you how many. And every day it feels like you're getting information. And then, so tell me when you finally get the message, like, okay, you can give yourself the trigger shot, and then we're going to do the retrieval. Were you feeling hopeful, nervous?
It never was a doubt in my mind that it was going to work for me.
I love that.
I knew it was a possibility that it would not go my way. But in my heart of hearts, I just felt like it would. For me, the hard part wasn't the retrieval and all of that. It was the part after.
So they do the retrieval. Do you remember how many eggs you got from that retrieval?
Yes, I do.
How many?
I got 12 originally.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but as you know, the number goes down.
Of course. So it goes down because they tell you, here's how many got fertilized. Here's how many made it to do the genetic testing. So how many, after all of those steps, how many embryos that were healthy did you end up with?
So it dropped down to 6. And then after I had them tested, I only had 4.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little heartbreaking to me. Not that it was a bad thing to come away with 4, because especially now, because now I have so many people I know are going through the process or have gone through it since me. I understand that you can really come through with 0. I was just like, when the number kept going down every other day, I was getting nervous. I was getting scared. I was like, oh my God, like, what if I don't have any? You know what I mean? So I was really, really panicking. But since I done mine, I've met so many friends that, some people walk away with 0. So I just was like, from my own experience, I was panicking. You know what I mean? And then when they tell you that you do have 2 that have abnormal chromosomes, then that puts on these different thoughts in your brain, like, well, what's wrong and why you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a lot of thoughts going through my head.
Of course, yeah. And did you find out the sex of the 4 that were healthy?
They actually, later on, I went back and asked. It ended up being 2 boys, 2 girls.
So then did you do the transfer right away, or did you wait a little while after the retrieval?
No, I went right away because, like I said, by that time, my birthday hit and I was 39. I wanted to have a child before I hit 40. So I was like, okay, please God, let us all come together, and let us have a healthy baby. So it worked out. Oh, by the way, I guess we should basically let everybody know, if they do have a significant other that they plan to use their sperm for the embryo, there is a process for them to have to go in the clinic as well to donate their sperm.
They get the fun part. We get the hard part. That's what I told my husband. So what was Todd thinking through all of this? Like, was he game? Was he hesitant about any of it? What was he feeling?
Todd was super excited and through the whole process. Like, I hate that, like, when we did it, like when the show was taping, it seemed like I was basically dragging him through the process. It seemed like he was just like, but really, he was, just as excited as I was to get things going, because this was, our combination. We both had daughters coming into our marriage, but this was for the both of us together, having a child together. And plus, this was his first time experiencing being a part of his child's life from birth, because it was different circumstances in his other situation.
Yeah, it's really special.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do the transfer. Did you choose the sex of the embryo that you transferred first?
To be honest, yes. I didn't tell people that the first time around. I don't know why we were shamed when we do that, but
Did you and Todd both agree on the sex that you wanted, or was there some debate there?
no, there was no debate.
Yeah.
We put the two boys in first.
Okay.
But only one took. So we were really sad about that, obviously. I mean, we kind of really wanted twins, Of course, I think everybody kind of want twins if you can get them. But it happened the way that I guess it worked out how it should happen, I guess. So I was a little disappointed, but I was super excited that I did have at least one,
Yeah, that's such an interesting moment, though, because it's so bittersweet. You go into it. It's not like when someone conceives naturally and they find out they're having twins as a surprise. It's like you go into
Right.
it and you worked really hard for that embryo and
Yeah.
it didn't take. Yeah.
The funny thing is, like, when we would do videos of ourselves giving the shots and everything, I have a video where I'm talking to the camera and I'm like, I just want you to know that we really worked hard for you, you know? So I guess, honestly, that video goes for Blaze and Ace because they both came from this batch of embryos. So we worked hard for them.
So tell me about that pregnancy. When did you start to feel physically pregnant? When did you allow yourself to get excited right away? Or because you'd been through so much, did you feel like, oh, I have to get out of the first trimester before I get excited? When did you tell people?
I did wait till the first trimester was over because the way they still had me doing injections until I was like 2.5 months into the
Yeah.
pregnancy.
And were these the really painful injections that go in your butt? Like in your butt cheek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing those because they said it would help to make sure you maintain the pregnancy. So I was doing everything I could to make sure that, the pregnancy made it the whole way through. Everything was going well in the beginning, but then around the 6-month mark, I believe it was, I had a little spotting and oh my God, I was so scared. Like, I was really panicking because I was like, and my pregnancy with Riley, I didn't have any issues whatsoever. So I was just like, what is this? Why, but it was just, I guess, something that it just happens sometimes. And it didn't turn into anything more. Thank the Lord for that.
Yeah.
But, you don't want that type of thing happening during a pregnancy that's already fragile in your mind.
Of course, yeah. So then tell me about when you knew you were going into labor and you were going to deliver.
Well, it was planned. The date was planned because of, the little, they had put me at high risk when I had the bleeding issue or whatever.
Yep.
So at that point, she set the date. And they actually moved my date up because whatever they were seeing, she just felt like they needed to move my date up. And they tried to move it up again, but I wouldn't let them because I was like, that's too close to Christmas. And I do not want my child to have a birthday by Christmas and everybody try to give him one gift for his birthday and his Christmas. No.
Good planning. You were thinking.
So I was like, we got to hold it out. So his birthday is January 6th. So we planned that date, 1/6/16, January 6th, 2016.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So
were you nervous going into it?
Yes, because she also wanted to do a C-section because of the fibroid surgeries that I had before. They just thought to be better to do it as a C-section and not try to do a natural birth. Now with Riley, I had only experienced natural birth. We did not do epidural or anything when I had my first child. So, this was a little interesting for me. I was like, oh my God, now I got to do this. I don't know if this is right. A friend of mine told me, she had scared me and said, if you get an epidural, then you're going to have back problems for the rest of your life. That's what she told me.
Oh God.
So that's why I didn't do it the first time. But then this was easy breezy. I'm like, really? I don't have any back problems. Like, I don't know why you told me that. Yeah.
So you go in, they give you the epidural. How was Todd feeling? Was he nervous? Who was the more nervous of the two of you?
I think we were both level-headed. We both were it was really smooth. We went into the room together. Oh my gosh. Let me just say, I had to have a spit cup because that epidural, I don't know, it just made me spit a lot. I was like, this is disgusting. This is gross.
Tell me about the moment that the doctors hand your baby to you.
Oh, it was just a beautiful time because, it's just like when you work so hard for something or someone in this instance, to finally see him, to finally be able to, hear his little voice, to see his little fingers and toes. Like, that's the best part about having a baby anyway. The first moment you get to look at them and count their toes and stuff. It was just an amazing feeling.
So I want to fast forward, obviously, because you have a whole other story with surrogacy. So you have a healthy baby. You know that you have, at this point, 2 frozen embryos. Is that right?
Yes.
And
I had 2 left.
And the 2 female embryos at this point?
Yes. So it was all these different conversations going on. But one day, Todd and I were like, he said, no man left behind.
I know what he means.
So we decided to go back to ACRM to have the conversation about, okay, what are our options with our embryos? And so I told Dr. Jackie that we were thinking about doing a surrogate. And it just so happened that she knew, Shadina Blunt, it was our surrogate. And Shadina actually had been a surrogate for another family prior to us.
Right.
And Dr. Jackie was her doctor, and that's how they met. So Dr. Jackie was like, well, I know somebody who's been a surrogate before. Maybe she could talk with you guys, and you guys could, see if that's something you really want to do. So the conversation that we actually had on the show was the first conversation that we had with her in real life.
Wow.
Hey, guys. Hi. I want you to meet Shadina. Hi. Hey, how are you?
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
This is Todd.
Nice to meet you.
You got a million questions. What made you decide to become a surrogate?
Well, I worked in OBGYN care and always would feel so sad when I would have the patients that couldn't get pregnant or either would get pregnant and couldn't sustain it. And so I was like, if I could ever help them, I would.
Now, I want to pause real quick and talk about your decision to have cameras there. Obviously, cameras have filmed so many parts of your life. What was it like going through something so personal and so intimate with cameras there? Are you just so used to it at this point that you forget about it? Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like so used to them being all in my business.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like a part of my life. I just kind of like accepted that if I'm going to be a part of a reality show, I'm going to give them the real of my life. Whatever they want to, record or whatever they choose to capture, I'm going to be willing to give to them.
And I have to say, I mean, those scenes, I just have to imagine it helped so many viewers too, because like you said, if you're not going to be real, if you're going to sort of cut out certain parts of your life and not talk about these parts of your journey, I think, it does a disservice to people. So I'm sure a lot of people appreciated it.
I did. I feel like it did help a lot of people. I had a lot of people reach out to me after that and said that it helped them. And then, it kind of normalized it for a lot of people who felt like it was something that they wanted to do, but they felt scared to try it because of the judgment of others.
Yeah. And I read, I think it was one interview where you said that you got a message. I forget if it was from a family member or a friend who said like, I can't believe you're considering this. And, aren't you worried you're not going to have a bond? So tell me about the judgment that you had to endure.
It really hurt my feelings, I don't like really talking about it because it makes me emotional, but I don't think she was trying to hurt my feelings. But when she saw it or heard that I was doing it, she was just like, aren't you afraid that you're not going to bond with your baby? She's older. So I guess her initial thinking is like, just because somebody doesn't physically have their baby, that they won't be able to have that same bond as a mother who physically pushed the baby out.
Yeah.
And I can tell you for sure, if you ever had a doubt in your mind, that is not true. Okay? It is not true. You immediately are going to love your baby the same way if you pushed out your own bottom as somebody else. You know what I mean? it does not matter. You know what I mean? So, but it just was kind of hurtful,
Of course.
to hear that.
Okay, so tell me about, so you have this conversation with Shadina, and it's not meant to be like, you're going to be my surrogate, we're doing this. It's just to get information.
Right.
And were there things she shared with you that were surprising, encouraging? How did you walk away from that meeting?
I love Shadina because she was so informative. She totally understood that, because you get always scared when you see those movies, the scary movies, when the people are like, it's my baby now.
Oh, God.
She totally was happy to carry the baby for someone else and to help somebody else, have that experience, you know what I mean, of, building their family. She already had 3 children of her own. She had no desire of having any more of her own children. So it was, a comfort level of speaking with someone who had already been through the experience. Plus, she had done it and delivered a healthy baby before.
Right.
So, the things that you fear going into it is, are they going to be eating right? Are they going to be going to the appointments like they're supposed to? Are they going to be doing this? Are they going to be doing that? And a lot of those things, Shadina, obviously she had already done the full from A to Z. She'd already done it, but gave the information. She gave the information. And going through this process, I didn't really realize how hard it is to find a surrogate, first of all. And a lot of people have to get surrogates that live in a different state. I believe her family that she had cared for before, they were in a different state or whatever. I know a lot of those things, are things that you have to think about when you are going through the process of finding a surrogate and, how that's going to work for you.
Did you transfer both embryos?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so
transfer.
tell me, let's back up a little bit. So you transferred both embryos, and she finds out she's pregnant. What was it like finding out?
It was super exciting. We were super happy, obviously, that she was pregnant. But then, they did the scan, and we were super, super excited because both embryos took initially. But then a few weeks later, or like a month later, it was like a few weeks into it, one of them, I don't know what they call it, but it went away. So we lost one of them, basically. And so
what was that like for you and Todd?
I was super sad, because it's like, once again, we're thinking that we might have twins, and then they tell us, yes, okay, you have, both of them are there. And then we are all like happy, excited, and everything is, the numbers were going up, and then they stopped going up. And then you're sitting there like praying, hoping that something is going to change, and it didn't change. And so it's like a catch-22. It's like you're super happy that you do have a healthy one, but then you're super sad that you lost one.
Of course. And that's even more so than with the pregnancy before, because
the person
you didn't have that moment of, okay, we do have 2, and you get excited about that
right.
and start picturing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot to go through.
Yeah, so it was that. And then as it kept going, it was just more so just praying that, the one that we did have with her, that it stayed, because it's like when you do see both and then you see one go away, then that is like, it's not really explained sometimes why that happens. It's not like she had the issues that I had. So, we were just kind of sad about it. But then I was like, oh my God, now that Blaze is here, I'm like, you know what? I was meant to only have one of these girls, because this girl she is a lot to handle, let me tell you. She is different than all the rest of my kids. She's a lot.
Oh, that's so funny. Did you ever talk to Andy Cohen about comparing surrogacy stories, or?
It's so crazy. We both were going through the same situation at the same time, but I did not know that he was going through it. But one day he called me, I guess because he knew that I was having an emotional moment, and he was like, it's going to be great. And he was talking to me from the standpoint of his friend was going through this situation.
Oh, wow.
But it was really him. I didn't know. But he was telling me, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. And stop saying, because I think we were making the joke, like it was our baby mama or something. And he was like, that is not, you're that baby's mom. He was like, you don't ever say that, And I think he said like, she's the oven or something like that.
I like
or
that.
Something, I forgot what he said. It was something else, but it was just like, he just made me feel better and he just calmed my nerves about the whole situation. Not knowing that we both were going through the same thing. And so right before he made the announcement, and I was about to go into the big brother's house, actually, I believe, around the time. Was it then? Yeah, before he made the announcement that he was going to be having a baby, he called me. He was like, I want you to know that I did the same thing, and it was
That's
cool.
so special that you guys could bond over that. I love that he was giving advice like a friend. We
Yeah,
can talk
yeah.
about this. That's sweet.
Yeah.
So for people who don't realize the process for using a surrogate, you both had to go through counseling. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what are those psych evals like?
Well, it's this long questionnaire that they have, and they bring up so many things that you would never think about.
Like what?
Oh my God. Okay, so if you're a surrogate, if there's a life-threatening situation, she automatically gets to make the decision to, abort your child if she has to. You know what I mean? Thing you don't really think about that, but it is something to think about. Or what was it? It was just always pushed. It's your baby, but her body. You know,
It's a
what
good
I'm
way to
saying?
put it. Yeah.
What was another thing that I didn't think about till they said it in the interview? It was just how are you going to communicate? How do you plan on to communicate throughout the process? We decided together to have a group text because it was just a better way for her to kind of like share how she was feeling, or share if she had any new movements. If she went to the doctor, if we weren't able to make it, to tell us what happened. Just different things. It was a couple of different issues that you have to talk about everything. You have to ask them, like, are they going to be having any sexual partners? Like, are they in a relationship? Are you not in a relationship? What is, it's a lot of things that you don't really think about that you have to think about, and you have to have a conversation.
I'm curious if in the contract it has things like she can have sexual relations with people. Do you have to know who those people are? I'm asking all the questions. I'm curious.
She said she wasn't, so we were good with that. She wasn't, she wasn't in a relationship at the time, and she wasn't planning to, add any relationship during the, whatever. So that made us feel better. We was cool with that. I mean, of course, we wasn't checking her every day or nothing. We definitely wanted to see her house. We went by and visited her house. Even though your baby's never going to live there, you want to know, like, okay, what her refrigerator looks like. Some people believe like the environment affects everything, during a pregnancy. So you want to know, how is she living? Is she comfortable?
Were there any things that she was doing, or any moments or anything you saw that made you nervous or gave you pause?
No, and that's the thing that was so cool about Shadina. Like, you go to her house is spick and span clean. Everything is in order. Business-wise, she's like she has her business together. Like, everything is on point. She had worked in the medical field before, so she was already kind of well-versed in anything that she needed to be doing, taking, whatever.
That's so reassuring.
Yeah, it was very reassuring.
And did you ever have moments, I'm curious, like, because you had experienced being pregnant and feeling the first kick or, even the heartburn, like those things that feel negative.
She had heartburn too.
She did. That's so funny. And did the baby have a lot of hair?
Yes. Yes.
So the story checks out. It's factual. Were you sad to not have those physical experiences, or was it just pure happiness through the whole thing?
Okay. So this might sound bad, but at first I was sad about it, right? I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be carrying my own child. This is crazy. How does this work? What am I doing? I was second guessing myself, like, why am I doing this? Like I was getting scared. I see a movie come out with some crazy stuff. So I was like, what am I doing? But then after I really got comfortable with Shadina and she would call on a regular basis, we check in with her. We had our regular text going. We would go to appointments together. And I knew that she was doing everything perfectly on point.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? That's not so bad.
Yeah.
My body's still looking kind of good.
Totally. No heartburn. You
no
can eat
heartburn. Poor thing. I think we went out to eat with her and she, I was like, poor thing, she got to worry about all this. I don't have to worry about that,
That's funny. Well, you went through it already, so it was fair. Okay, so tell me about what is it like in the delivery when there's a surrogate delivering? Is it a crowded room?
It was funny. We had Ace and Riley there and Todd, myself, the doctor. We weren't there when she actually pushed out. No, we were. They were in there. Yeah, they were. What am I talking about? They were. But we had them to be like behind her, kind of like so they couldn't see.
Yeah.
But it was a crowded room, but everything was cool. It was perfect. Shadina, she had a vaginal birth. Blaze, came out and it was just kind of like Riley was like, ugh,
If you've never seen it before, it's a lot.
See a baby and it still comes out with all the stuff on it. It was just kind of like, but yeah. But no, it was pretty cool. Like I had seen, actually I was the one who cut the cord. I knew what it looked like, for a baby to come out. So that was cool. But to have my own baby come out, and it's not coming out of my body. It was a little interesting, but it was just awesome. And then the thing that's so funny is you still have your own hospital room.
Okay.
So we had a hospital room for Shadina, obviously, that she goes to. And then you have your own hospital room that you and the baby go to. And so everybody thought it was so weird to see me in the hospital bed.
I remember Gabrielle Union talking about how she got so many trolls giving her so much for being in a hospital bed. And she's like, I'm holding a baby. What do you want me to do? Yeah, I think you're right. People don't realize what the setup is.
Yeah, they don't understand, but it is definitely necessary because it's not like you're gonna take your baby home the first night, and you want to bond with your baby just because you didn't push him out. You still want to have the same bonding experience, same feedings. I mean, I'm not able to breastfeed at that point. We started Blaze out on formula, but initially Shadina was pumping for the first month and, bringing us milk and stuff like that. So she still got breast milk and formula in the first month. But, yeah.
So what did you think? I'm curious in that moment, who holds the baby first? Did the doctor hand the baby to you first, to Shadina?
To me.
To you.
Yeah. The baby never goes to your surrogate.
Got it.
Because even though, Shadina did all the physical work, the baby is mine, so it's, of course, we hugged, we said thank you, and we still keep in touch. But, yes, she's very comfortable with the fact that, okay, see y'all later.
Of course, yeah. She did her part.
She did her part and she was ready to go.
We started by talking about how you came into motherhood in all these different ways. So I'm curious, with IVF, what was the most surprising thing about the process that you didn't realize going into it? Good or bad?
That trigger shot hurt like hell.
Yep.
That thing hurt like hell. But I didn't realize that just for them to put the embryo in you and that whole process that you were going to have to do shots for months after that. So it's like you're going to have bruises from all the shots that you're doing. Because basically you're going in the same areas over and over again.
Right.
So that is painful. So this is something physically you really got to want to do this. This is not anything that you just do on a whim.
Right.
You know, that's the first thing that I think about. And I guess the other part about it is that just because you say that it's, you know, that you want it to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen the way you want to. Like I thought that, I put 2 in, I'm going to get 2. It doesn't happen that way.
It's like you said, it's that numbers game. You start with what seems like a lot and it can only go down from there.
And then don't let that number always stress you out, because I know people who ended up with 16 eggs or 50, and they may not have ended up with any, but then I know some people that only got 1 egg and it worked.
Yeah.
So you never know what your situation is going to be. So don't let the number of eggs or whatever stress you.
Yep. That's good advice. And then what was the most surprising thing about the surrogacy experience?
Well, for me, it was perfect. I could not have found a better person to do the experience with. I'm so thankful for Shadina. I'm just going to say that. Hands down. I'm grateful for her. She made the whole experience much better just because it was like just the day-to-day of, I didn't always have to even reach out to her because sometimes it's kind of awkward. You don't know, like, am I calling her too much? Or, you know what I mean? Because it's weird. You know what I mean? You don't really know how to deal with the situation, but she just made it so comfortable to be able to talk and reach out and all of that.